Thank you, Presiding Officer. And let me start by declaring my honorary presidency of the Scottish Association for Public Transport, which is a keen interest in the topic area before us. I want to just start on essentially where the Labour Party is coming for buses and the desire for probably every council in Scotland to take over the running of bus services, and I want to talk about some of the financial implications of that. I previously talked about the financial implications for the bus pass proposals for under 25s. These are equally improbable. Firstly, the general principle is if you take away a franchise to do business from a business, you have to compensate that business with 1 year's revenue, not 1 year's profit, 1 year's revenue. So that's 700 million or 800 million thereabouts straight away. So that's the first thing to do. The next thing is to actually have a look at the accounts of Edinburgh Buses, because that gives us an excellent company. Let me immediately say that. And indeed, my great-uncle Alec was the cabinet holder in the Edinburgh Council 100 years ago, who's responsible for this. So it probably is down to him. Anyway, the accounts for Lothian Buses. What is the capitalisation in Lothian Buses, which covers about 10% of Scotland's population? And the answer is in the accounts for 31st December 2017, 147 million. Now, if I therefore factor that up, and it's a very crude way to do it, which is capable of criticism, and I accept that, but I have nothing better, then it becomes £1.5 billion, and you add the 700 billion, we're talking £2.2 billion. Now, I accept that is the top ceiling, which you almost certainly wouldn't reach and couldn't exceed. But it illustrates that the general point is that there's a lot of numbers to look at, and there's been almost no talk about numbers. There is a profit, the dividend comes back, of course there is, but you need the capitalisation in the first place to deal with it. It's also worth saying, of course, they've got to buy some vehicles or buy them from the existing bus companies. I suspect they wouldn't get a huge discount from the existing bus companies for whom it would, in effect, be a forced sale. So I urge the Labour Party, perfectly entitled to pursue proposals that they pursue, to bring forward some numbers that are based on something more than my bluntly about 20 minutes research, just simply picking up the accounts of Lothian Buses. An excellent company, I repeat once again, and I too, from time to time, use them with my bus pass. Now, bus service improvement partnerships and the proposals in the bill, I do support. Yes, I will.
Colin Smith.
The member has just effectively slated the idea of local authorities being able to set up bus companies unrestricted. Does he support the government's plan they should be allowed to set up bus companies to only meet unmet need? And exactly how many local authorities do you think are going to do that?
Stewart Stevenson.
I'm very clear that the government's proposals are good proposals that are worthy of support. We have other proposals coming from the Labour Party, which I do not close my mind to. Let me just say to the member that that is the case. But I do point out to him that to gain support across the Parliament, he will have to provide some numbers of the investment that's required, the capitalisation, the liabilities that would be taken on, particularly in relation to pensions, as you too pay across people from the commercial companies. And I urge the member simply to bring numbers forward. Then he may persuade more of us who are yet to be persuaded. The bus improvement partnerships, I think it's fair to say that the previous provisions, the voluntary and compulsory partnerships, have not really delivered, as I think we all hoped in the passage of the previous bill. Looking at the new proposals, I know that the bus companies are cautiously supportive of them, and I think that's probably reasonable, and I'm certainly prepared to be cautiously supportive of them as well. Now, let's just talk, one final thing on buses. I think we can do more on bus lanes. We make them all 24 hours a day, and we make them compulsory and we enforce them better. Then you'd get consistent bus journey times and people would rely on buses more. Parking. It's important what we do on parking that we respect the needs of those with reduced mobility, and in particular with people who are blind, who may walk into vehicles that are parked on pavements that they simply don't see. And dropped curbs are an issue as well, because blind people need a very clear delineation between pavement and road. On the subject of loading and unloading, I'm just going to make a sort of rather obvious suggestion that you should only be able to load and unload if you have an indicator on your screen that is adjusted to show the time that you started parking. And that's done in other countries, by the way, so there's nothing particularly novel about I'm in my last minute, do forgive me. Now, finally, just a little bit on the workplace parking. I, like others, have not seen it, and the whips have not approached me to tell me what I have to say or do on this subject as yet. What I will say to you, however, is there are different ways of introducing this, and I encourage Mr Finney to think about this, that anything that puts a cost on individual citizens, I'm reluctant. Anything that puts cost on those who have to provide the parking, I might be prepared to support. In other words, if it's a charge on companies, fair enough. If it's a charge on individuals, it's a much more difficult ask for me. Presiding officer, I think this is an excellent bill that I have no hesitation in saying I will be supporting come decision time tonight. Presiding officer.